Saturday, May 7th, 2016. I have a composition book here. A few ideas I want to share with you guys. First one is, I'm excited because I just remembered that I had taken notes and I dated the pages on here. Check out the date on there. Where does it say? September 1st, 2014, but September 3rd, 2011. I'll go ahead and read out. This is why I had honed the discovery date down. I wrote down here, diamonds were made inside the earth when it was a star. That's the first time I've ever written anything about it. And I have another date here, August 28th, 2011. And I referred to Earth as a planet and stars as being mutually exclusive. So it was literally September 3rd. And it helps to write dates down. That way you can keep things organized in your brain so you can know what happened when. But I just wanted you guys to know that this all didn't start September 3rd, 2011. That's when the discovery was made. What you have here is all the pages and notes that I was making long before any of that happened. Not only all this was on page 110, 111. I had, I think, 2 or 3 more journals that came before this. All 200 pages of it, full of notes, full of ideas. And from looking at this, I noticed that one of the most powerful things a creative person can do, especially if they're working inside of scientific endeavors, is to make wrong statements on purpose. Now, a lot of scientists, they're trained in graduate school and their basic bachelor's of science degrees, that they always have to be perfect, that they always have to get the 100%, or at least get the 100% on all the physics exams. And if they make any mistakes, then they're wrong and they're gonna fail. But that's not exactly how discoveries are made. How you make a great discovery is by being creative. By taking something that everybody knows is common knowledge and stating it wrong. And seeing if you can make a discovery around that. And try to use your mind to try to connect the dots in other places that a institutionalized person may not have seen because they're afraid of making mistakes and they're afraid of making wrong statements. But if you have the power in your own life, in your own research, to make incorrect statements, knowing full well that they're incorrect, but knowing that you can probably connect the dots in other places, you are actually what's called educated. That's what an educated mind can do, is not be afraid of being wrong. But institutionalized minds, they're always afraid of being wrong. For instance, I have here August 29th, 2011. This is a few days before the discovery was made. What causes EM braking that will hold the key to inertia? I think electromagnetic braking will hold the key to understanding inertia. Don't know if that's correct. Don't know if magnetism and electromagnetism is related to inertia. Maybe it is. Don't know. But the fact that I wrote it here says a lot. Also, some other wrong statements I make. Purposefully wrong statements. I want to push the idea that it's okay to make wrong statements, but do not make the wrong statement and then say this is how it is forever. Make a wrong statement knowing full well that you know it's wrong, to get the idea out there, to try to cook your way into making something new. Try to make something interesting. Try to break your mind from a mold that people want you to be in. And I was always looking at UFOs and how they might work. I was always looking at relativity. I think that's what attracts a lot of people to science, because they think that, you know, general relativity is the ultimate understanding. So obviously they get attracted to it, and then they realize that none of it makes any sense. So there's a perpetual failure to understand nature. But if you're willing to say general relativity is probably wrong about everything, and it's not science at all, then you break your mind free from those chains, and then you can start thinking about ideas in really weird fashions. Yeah, right. June 24th, 2011. How do I get space to contract? And I was writing all these three-dimensional blocks and stuff, and I was scribbling all over the place. You know, who knows what I was thinking, but I was trying my best to try to break free of that mold. And I want my listeners to know that if you allow yourself to think about things differently, chances are you're going to make a great discovery yourself. But it does help to know the foundations for what establishment believes before you kind of break free of that mold. To really understand, you know, things like electron orbitals and how they believe it works, and then try to make something new and different out of it. Because that's another thing that I was attacking. This is before I made a discovery. I was like drawing different elements and how I think they might be arranged. And I was here's a cool picture. Where did I think I was really bored one day. I was drawing a bunch of circles inside of pyramids and trying to look for new ideas in there. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. And also, I'm sorry for rambling, but also when I was looking at all this, when I was looking at nature, and I was looking at what everybody says was true about the world by going to Wikipedia pages, I was like, this can't be the only sets of ideas that's out there. But what's more true is that those are the ideas that everyone accepts, but they ignore all their alternative ideas. They tend to ignore the ideas that they consider to be wrong. But as history shows, there's always a better theory. There's always an alternative. And trying to look for that alternative, trying to find where people have a different interpretation of how the stars may work, about how matter behaves, then they can probably produce something of value that's not accepted. But, you know, that takes a lot of time, energy, and courage for the most part, because you'll be ridiculed for having a new understanding or a different alternative to nature. But anyways, I also want to say that if you want to make something, if you want to be creative, keep journals, write it all down, make diagrams, take notes, and you're gonna thank me for this. Put the dates on every single page. Do not date things. Always write down where you were or what you're doing. I remember where I was when I made a discovery. I was at my ex's house. But that's so you can organize your mind, especially if you're incredibly creative and your ideas are just all over the place. And if you make notes on pieces of paper that are random, that, you know, boom, an idea comes to mind, write down a little post-it note or a little piece of paper and staple it to the journal and date it. That way you can keep organized. Because it's gonna suck one day, and I almost thought I had lost it, that I had forgotten what day exactly that I made the discovery. And it brings meaning to your life when you can pinpoint when those events happened, because it brings meaning to you, and you can like look at things through time. For instance, it's much more fulfilling to know when the anniversary of the discovery is made, because then I can celebrate, you know, and drink a lot of beer or something, you know, something like that. But yeah, it just, and another thing is it takes a lot of time. If you want to have something good, even if you seemingly think it's something simple that the researchers will understand immediately once you tell them, it's gonna still take a lot of time. It's gonna take many years. I was working on this trying to understand gravitation. I still don't understand it until I made a discovery. I was working on this stuff for many years before 2011. And then even after 2011, I was still working on it for years and years. It's 2016 now. And still, establishment science has yet to acknowledge it. But they're never going to acknowledge it because they have their own, you know, they have their own interests in mind, which is why I have to build a new paradigm, a new way of looking at the world from scratch. And the people who are watching this, they're helping me considerably. But it takes a whole hell of a lot of time, many hours. For instance, I think easily I'd probably put in easily around 7,000 to 10,000 hours of looking over this stuff and trying to figure it all out. And here's the really cool part is September 12th, 2011. I was writing down all the parts to stellar evolution, to star evolution, and then I did a little web here of all the events that I thought maybe it worked in, and you know, you see that. But yeah, just so you guys know that this wasn't something that I just, you know, I stole from somebody. It wasn't out stealing ideas. No, just my mind just goes, you know, out there, and then I have to bring it back and check and recheck to see if it makes any sense to what people already believe, and it takes a lot of time. But I know this is pretty rambling, but I just wanted to show you guys that do this. Write it all down in a notebook. It's unreal having something like this to hold in your hands. All right, later.